First of all, thanks very much once again to Colin and Joe for having us here today. It's very special, and there's not many people who can hold a wedding the day after they hold an event like this. That's one thing. The other thing is to do it and be completely unfussed. I've never seen more relaxed people in my life, so that's outstanding. And I think it's only appropriate that a leading stud breeder should put so much focus on a wedding and the creation of the next generation of his family. It's really good to see. I'd also just one slight correction. I believe everything I used to believe everything Colin told me until he said early in his address that he's an annoying kind of guy who asks lots of questions. And he does. He's gone all around the world asking questions, and he buttonholes people, and he gets his hour with them and takes the information on board and works it through. But I rang him a week or so ago and said, Colin, I just want to ask you 2 questions. Have you got some time? He said, yeah, I've got plenty of time. And he said, let's go. And so Colin started talking, and about 45 minutes later he said, so what was your first question? And so not only is he different, he's consistently different, because that 45 minutes was almost word for word what he said to you today. So he was right on the button. And I think it's that whole idea of difference is it's the hallmark of the way this place is run, and the way that Colin and Joe think about what and how they do. And we're all different in a sense, and it's what we do with that difference that I think is the key thing. Thanks for the chance to speak. I won't speak for too long. I just wanted to kind of expand a little bit on that theme of maybe seeing things from the outside a little bit as much as possible, and coming to terms with the fact that most people in this room, in some senses, know almost too much. We're so close to it that sometimes stepping back and comparing what we do with what people do in other professions, and just stepping a little bit, one step back, can be really quite helpful. And I think, once again, with Colin, because he's come from New Zealand Rail and from an advertising agency and a education business, it's given him a different perspective, and I think we can all gain something from that. And this morning, just on that, I was having breakfast with Steve Miller from Ag Research, and it was quite early in the morning to be philosophical, but we were getting quite philosophical about why it is that breeders do what they do, why you do what you do. And we sort of thought of the imagery of a painter who's painting a painting, but not just in 10 minutes or a day or a couple of days. They're spending 40 years painting this painting. And every so often something goes a bit wrong, so they'll smudge a bit out and add to it, and it's a creation. But at the end of the 40 years or 30, 50 years, or however long they've been doing it for, it's their creation. It's something very special, very personal to them, and it's a result of how they see the world. And very much what I was wanting to I think there's a really nice allusion there to what it is that everyone in this room does. That it's not for people like me to stand here and tell you how to brand your stud, how to market it. I think what's perhaps more useful is to add some thoughts about how you might want to think about what you do, not instructing you what to do. Apart from anything else, I'm in no position to tell you what to do as far as a stud breeder, because I'm more involved in dairying these days than in sheep farming. I was actually thinking that a year ago, if I mentioned that I'm involved in dairying, you might have thought I was skiting. This year, you're probably thinking I'm coming for asking for pity, but it's funny how things change. So, just in that whole notion, that whole idea of kind of stepping outside of what we do and just taking a broader picture of things, I just wanted to kind of encourage us all to think. Imagine if you were in a business, it could be any business, and you were selling a product that had these following characteristics. It was always changing. It was never the same. It was kind of invisible. You couldn't actually say, well, here it is, touch it, feel it. Your customers didn't fully understand it. You could really only promise something about this product. It didn't deliver straight away. And your competitors were out there from time to time telling porkies about your product. So just think about that if you were running a business and the challenges that might represent, and then sort of pose the question, what are your options then if that's your business? And I reckon, I'm a simple chap, but I reckon there are 2 options for you if that's your business. The first one is to get into a new business, or the other is to remain a sheep breeder. Because if we go back to those characteristics, those are the characteristics that you're dealing in. And so there's a really interesting intersection between so much change, so much dynamism, and a whole lot of objectivity as well, meeting the exactitude of technology and a lot of the developments you're seeing from B+LNZG, New Zealand Genetics, and the partners, as well as the True Tests and others in this world. So kind of really interesting way of thinking about two worlds colliding, the exactitude of technology and the kind of utter randomness of genes. And as Colin was saying, you have some children and even they're not like, don't even resemble each other. So, a question, just on that thought. Just wanted to ask a question about how much the internet has changed life for you. So just drilling a little bit more deeply into this idea of technology and how it's affecting us. What I wanted to do was to ask, and Becky could help me here, I just wanted to ask, there are 4 options. When you think about the internet, and think of the internet in its broadest sense, when you're researching information, buying things, connecting with other groups, and all its uses. There are 4 options: not at all, a little, quite a bit, and fundamentally. So, can you please raise your hand if you feel that the internet has changed your life? Not at all. Is there someone here who's, and we don't mean to single you out, and it's feel. Oh, we got 1, 2, great, 3. Fantastic. We'll have a chat with you later on. Okay, so the next group, who feels that the internet has changed their life a little? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. 1 went up and went down. It's obviously the internet's got more important for them in the last few seconds. Next group, so who thinks the internet has changed their life quite a bit? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33. About 42 and a half. Okay, so who thinks the internet has fundamentally changed life for you? Okay, I don't think we need to count. There's more than 40 there. There's probably, say, 50. Let's jot 50 down for that, just to keep things moving. Okay, that's interesting. So quite a big skew to quite a bit, and particularly to fundamental change. Interesting to see that some people have been resistant to it, which is interesting in itself. Okay, so there's a further question, which is related to this, and it goes like this. How much has information technology changed how farmers buy rams from you? So it's a slightly different question, but just think about, maybe compare it with how it might have been. Now, if you weren't selling rams, breeding rams 30 years ago, imagine how it might have been 30 years ago. So make that comparison and say, how much has information technology changed how farmers buy rams from you, the process that they use? So on that same basis, asking that question, not at all, a little, quite a bit, fundamentally. And I think you don't just have to be a stud breeder to answer this. I think if you can bring your perspective from wherever you come from. Okay, so who feels that information technology has not changed one iota the way that farmers buy rams? 1. Okay, who thinks that it's changed it a little? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17, 18. Okay, that's great. And C, who feels that they've changed it quite a bit? Whoa. There's about 60. Okay, and who feels that that the way that farmers buy rams has been fundamentally changed by information technology? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, thank God you gave those answers, because what my next slide says is, why the difference? If there hadn't been any difference, my whole thesis would have just collapsed So what is the difference between the two? There was a reasonably significant difference between how people in this room felt the internet had changed. Sorry? Oh, it's sign, sorry. Quite a significant difference between how we in the room see the internet, which is literally just an information sharing medium, obviously, changing our lives, against how much we feel that the information, the use of digital technology is changing the way that people think about, research and buy their next breeding animals. And I think if we think about that difference, we think, well, is that there is, and this is just an anecdotal survey, but if we acknowledge there is a difference, we say, is that good news or is that bad news? And I'd like to put it to you that it's not just good news, I think it's extremely good news. There's a whole lot of potential for the people in this room and people like you to help encourage commercial farmers to begin to go, actually, there's an easy way to find, I can get information, the information's more available and it's more visible. And there's probably, I'll put it to you, probably slightly dangerously, I think there's probably a bit of a skew here because of the nature of the quality of the breeders in this room. You tend to have clients who are going to be more focused on the numbers, they're going to be more numerate anyway, so there's a natural skew. So there's a lot of breeders out there who are probably not in that same space, and for them, this may not be such good news. Okay, so very quickly, just what's the context for that? There's a changing breeding reality. We know things are changing. So the 20th century was, and this is in hugely general terms, but it is an external perspective, largely selecting on a belief. People believed in breeds very deeply. They believed in what their father had done before them and their grandfather. There was a lot of kind of inbuilt beliefs that were not necessarily tested, partly because they couldn't be tested. There wasn't anything to validate or invalidate them. The second thing linked to that was huge levels of loyalty. It was like kind of there's a customary approach you would take to selecting who you would purchase your rams from. And finally, it was about what you could see. It literally was in front of you. There was not really much thought given or ability to assess what might come next, what might be an estimated outcome from that particular animal. So it was very much about a belief system that often you inherited. There's a loyalty which was deeply rooted, and it was about what you could see. Okay, so in this 21st century, belief, there's still a lot of belief. People, of course, we have belief, and we need to believe, or we wouldn't be probably farming in the first place. But belief has been superseded a lot by evidence. People think, yep, I believe that, but I need the evidence. I want it supported by something objective. Yes, loyalty is really important, because the more loyal you are, the closer the relationship, the better the exchange of information, all sorts of positive things happen. But people are much more interested, relatively speaking, these days in the actual performance. Loyalty's still there, but performance is much more important than it used to be. And perhaps most excitingly, in a funny way, it's not so much solely what you see, it's what you can expect to see in future. So you're starting to be able to map what's coming next. And if you're saying, well, what is that? If you were going to say, what are these things in common? What is the notion of belief? If you were going to say, what are these things in common? What is the notion of belief, or visibility? I'm calling that familial. There's a very sort of kind of like visibility. I'm calling it human. There's a very sort of kind of like a familial element to this industry. Familial element. And we're thinking about what's happening in the 21st century. How's that changing? We're thinking about what's happening in the 21st century. How's that changing? This is very black and white. I know it's not like that in reality. It's much more nuanced. This is very black and white. I know it's not like that in reality. It's much more nuanced. There's a big change. Now, I suspect it's something that there's a big change. I suspect it's something that in this room that you will see. So long as we don't lose, most of these are important. So long as we don't lose these, this becomes really quite exciting. As long as we don't lose this kind of game changer. Really quite exciting. So that's just an insight, and it's kind of game changer. A generalised insight from the outside about the profession. Let's just jump from that to businesses in general. And I'm just talking about the businesses that I've been fortunate enough to have some involvement with over the years. Been fortunate enough to have some involvement with over the years. More recently, what are the two biggest things that more recently, what are the two biggest things, whether they express it this way or not, worry them? I put it down to them as these. The first is I put it digitalisation, so that's anything to do with information broken into bits and bytes and used as data. Information broken into what's that doing for businesses? It means that the information that's doing more democratic. It means people get access to it. Information is becoming more democratic. And funny enough, what does that do? People get access. It puts power in the hands of customers. There are a whole lot of customers out there that puts power in the hands of customers. A whole lot more about customers out there products than they used to. And I'd put it to you that for the majority of businesses, and they're talking about farming, and I'd put it to you that for the majority of businesses across the board, not talking about farming, that's not good news. Talking about businesses across the board, the power's going into the hands of customers, and they are not able to hide. Going into the hands. There are fewer little places they can go where they have their hide. Their little niches where they have places they can go where they have their, because people, their little niches have access to that information. So because people democratising information, and the other thing that's really democratising information, an issue, and the other thing that's really is there's inadequate connection
particularly
with
for the larger
end
businesses,
customers,
and that's inadequate
to
connection
use the
with
jargon,
the
that's the
end
complicated
customers.
supply chains.
And to use
You
the
see
jargon, that's the
manufacturers just pulling their
complicated
hair
supply
out, saying, "Well, I've
chain.
produced this wonderful product,"
manufacturers just pulling their hair out,
continue to develop them, and they're state of the art. It
continue to
goes
develop
through
them
through a
and
distributor, through a
they're
wholesaler,
state-of-the-art,
through a retailer,
but it goes through
and a spotty
through a distributor,
19-year-old is
through a
selling it
wholesaler,
in a
retailer,
store, and
and
there's so much
19-year-old
loss
is
of
selling it
information,
in
loss
the
of
store,
knowledge,
and
and
there's
loss
so
of
much
value
loss
along
of
the way.
information, loss of
And
knowledge.
They
and
can't
loss
go
of
on.
value
The
along the
manufacturer
way.
can't go online and try and sell direct.
They can't go on.
The manufacturer can't go online and try and sell
retailers
direct
because that screws it up.
become pretty complicated, and the net effect of that is
become
pretty
pretty
complicated,
complicated,
and the
and the
net
net
effect
effect
of that is
that
in many
actually
cases
making
they're a
these
long, long
products
way
for,
away from the
and
people.
they're
So people
actually
know
making
more,
these products
and
for,
the people who
and
make the stuff.
So people
are
know
having
more,
trouble getting
and
closer
the
to
people
who make the
that
stuff
are having
they're
trouble
wanting to
getting
communicate
closer
with.
to the people that.
So if you think about that, you say, well,
they want to
who's
communicate
who's
with.
winning overall?
So if you
given-
think
given
about that,
those
you say, well,
changes, who's winning overall?
there
There
are
are other
given
winners,
those
but
the biggest winners at the moment.
there are
what
other
you call
winners,
the
but
aggregators and the
the
disseminators
the
of
biggest winners
information.
at the moment,
What you call the aggregators, and the
Google,
disseminators
Apple,
of
closer to home
information.
Xero wouldn't be such a bad
Google,
bad
Apple,
example.
closer to home Xero would be.
And we know how
such a
successful
bad
they've been,
example.
and they are in the
we know how
game
successful
of
they've
relaying the
been,
information.
and
They know that the value is
in the game
is in the
of relaying the
information.
They know.
And it was interesting hearing Colin talk before about the value of information that everyone in this room has.
The value
that is passed on
that everyone in this room has.
no cost,
that
or
is
is somehow
passed on
not necessarily itemised as
no
something
cost,
that's
or
of
somehow
particular
not
value that
necessarily
other
itemised
other
as
professions
something that's
put
of
huge
particular value that
other value against.
other professions put huge.
It's a really good
value
point, and
against.
Google doesn't give away anything
really
for
good
free.
point.
And
Every
Google doesn't
single
give away advertising. Every single person involved
every single
in a Google
advertiser,
AdWords, for
every
example,
single person
there's a little
involved
click, there's a little
in
count in
Google
this
AdWords,
value.
for example.
Now I know that's not the
There's a
same
little
as breeding,
click,
as
there's a little
stud
count in
breeding,
this value.
but
But
I
just
know
asking
that's
you
not
to
the
think
same
about
as
the
breeding
principle
of
of stud breeding.
where the money's
But I'm
going.
just asking you to think about the
If you want to
principle
follow the
of
money.
where the money's going.
Okay, so thinking about those two issues that are thinking about those
business.
those two issues
What's
that
the
are
point of it
affecting
as it relates to
business, stud breeding.
What's the point of it as it relates
And I think
to?
I'd like to make that a question to
And I
put
think
before, because of
I'd
short
like
of
to make
time,
that
I'm going to answer it
question
myself.
to put before, because
And
of short
the
of
first
time.
thing is that rather than
I'm going to answer it myself.
rather than suffering
and
from
the first thing is that
from
rather
the
than
democratization of
rather than
information,
suffering
the information
from the
is democratization of becoming more
information
available to
that
customers.
information
That's a
is more-
wonderful
is
opportunity
becoming more
for
available to
everyone in
customers.
this room. And
that's a wonderful
it's-
opportunity
so
for
that's-
everyone in this room.
That puts
And
the stud
that's-
breeding industry at
so
odds
that's-
in a really positive
that
way
puts
from
the stud breeding
the majority of
industry
other
at odds
businesses. There's
in a really
something
positive
unique
way
about
from
what you do.
the majority of other businesses.
The more
There's
people
something
know,
unique about what
if
you do.
and as Colin said
The more
before,
people
this
know,
assumes you're not
if you-
wanting to work in the dark.
As Colin said before,
if the lights
this
are on,
assumes you're not
then the
wanting
more
to work in the
your-
dark. If the lights are on,
then
the more
commercial farmer
your-
clients and future commercial clients,
commercial farmer clients
know
and
or maybe
future commercial clients
informed
farmer clients
know
better
if you're going to be.
So
if
informed,
technology is your friend rather than
better
it
off
being
you're gonna be.
being a threat.
Technology is your friend
So it
rather
offers
than
you as
being
much power as it offers your
being a
customers.
threat.
And
So
rather
offers
than
you
being
as much power
exposed
as it
by
offers
it
your
and being shown
customers.
up by it, it's a chance for
rather
you to
than
highlight
exposed by
opportunities
it
and
and
being shown up by it. It's a chance
and
for you
that's
to highlight
happening already.
opportunities and value. You can see
And that's
good
happening
examples
already.
of that underway already. And in effect,
Good examples of that.
although you never want to be a
Underway already.
Google or an
And
Xero
in effect,
or an Apple,
although
by
you
any
never want to
means,
be a Google or an
because
Xero
they're more
or
different from you
an
than they
Apple
are
by any
similar,
means,
you too can be an
because they're more
aggregator and
different from you
disseminator of
than they are similar.
information. And
you too can be an
Um,
aggregator and disseminator
it's
of
a natural
information.
corollary
And
of having
information systems that
it's a natural
give you so much
corollary
more
of having
information
objectivity
systems that give you
are-
so much more
enable you to really work
objectivity
alongside
that
farmers
are-
in an
enable you to
effectively
really
in a
work
more advisory
alongside farmers
capacity.
effectively in a more advisory.
So there's a little bit on your farm, a little bit of these appearing. So
in
there's
the
a little bit
sense
on your
of,
farm, a little bit of these
in
in
your
your
operation that you are able
in the
to
sense of
extend
your operation that you
from
are able
being
to what was previously
extend from
sorry, I'll
being
just,
what was previously
a
sorry, I'll just
primarily a breeder
previously
and
a
seller of animals
to a breeder and seller of
primarily
animals,
a breeder
who is
and
also
seller
an
of
advisor,
advisors, someone
breeder
who
and
is
seller of
making
animals, who is
real
also an advisor,
contribution,
someone who is
an
making
additional
a
contribution to
real
your
contribution,
your client's
an
operations.
additional
Now you'll be saying,
contribution to
well, I'm doing that already, and I know you are. I'm not saying it's
Now
not.
you'll be
happening.
saying,
It's the degree
well, I'm
to
doing that
which it
already,
can-
and I know you are. I'm not saying it's not happening.
So,
It's the degree
so the
to
first
which
advantage is
this can
that
change.
technology is
So
your friend.
So the first advantage is
The second advantage relates to the issue I said
friend.
outlined before
The second
about those
advantage
complicated
relates to the
value
issue I
chains
said
where
outlined
there's
before
not enough
about
connection
those
between the person who
complicated
makes
value
it and the person
chains
who
where
buys it. There's not enough connection
You are
between the person who makes
uniquely
it and the
connected
person who buys it. And if you look at customer feedback loops or supply chains or whichever, and if you look at customer feedback loops or supply chains, they just don't come any shorter wording you want to use in this game. They just don't come any shorter. You are the supply chain in this game. You're face to face with your customers. There's no reason. There's nothing in between you and the customer at all. Face to face with your customers. There's no reason. There's nothing in between. So information turns breeders and sellers into breeders, sellers, So information
advisors,
turns breeders and
as
sellers
I-
into
as I
breeders.
talked about.
And once again, I need to stress, I'm not
And
suggesting
advisors,
that's not
as
happening
I-
already.
as I
It's
talked
just,
about
and
the
once again, I need to
opportunity
stress,
to
I'm not
really
suggesting
wrap
that's
it
not
up
happening
and to
already.
increase-
It's just the
increase
opportunity
the
to
va- the
really
value that you
provide and the
increase-
relative value you
increase
provide
compared with
the
other
value
breeders.
that you provide and the relative
And so
value you
information,
provide
compared with other breeders.
is your power. And so information.
And so
is-
just
is
the,
your power.
a very simple thought I just wanted to
And so
leave
just
you with.
a very
is
simple thought I just
the fact that
wanted
these
to leave you with.
the notion of your
is your ability to
the fact
connect
that
with
these-
customers.
the notion
is-
of your
don't
ability
take it for
to connect
granted.
with customers
It's something that other professions would
don't take
absolutely
it for
love to
granted.
have. It's something
Uh,
that
other
other
industries,
industries
sorry,
would absolutely love to have, and
it's
other industries
incredible,
would
degree of
absolutely love to have
proximity
and kind of
incredible,
intimacy
degree
with
of
your customers
proximity
and kind of
a positive
intimacy
thing. So
never take that for
with
granted.
your customers, and that is
And ally
such
that
a
with
positive thing.
what
So never take
technology
that for
can
granted.
do to that
Ally that
relationship
with
and start
what
to think
technology
about
can do
actually to
what
that
does that
relationship
mean in
and start to
practical
think about
terms?
actually
What does
you
that
know
mean?
does
in
it could it
practical
mean
terms?
and I'm you know I said at the outset I wasn't going to
could
get
it
down to
mean-
specifics
and
of suggestions and I said at the outset I wasn't going to get down to specifics of suggestions and provide you guidance of what you should do. I'm more interested in how we think about
Provide
what
you
we
guidance
do.
of what you should do.
But
I'm
maybe
more
just
interested
one
in how
example
we
to
think about what
sort
we
of something a
do.
little bit more.
But maybe just
tangible
one
behind
example
this
is sort of something a little bit more tangible.
the degree of
behind this
opportunity there is to bring in your existing
the degree of opportunity there is
to bring in
clients,
your
and
existing future clients, other farmers,
clients, and
just to talk with them
future
about
clients,
some
other
of the
farmers,
new technologies, some of
just
the
to
things
talk
that are
with them
happening
about
within some of the
within-
new technologies,
within
some of the
breeding,
things that are happening within
parking,
anything to do with
within
your own
breeding,
animals, and really focusing
parking,
on helping them
anything to do with
understand
your own animals,
what the
and really
possibilities are,
focusing on
how it works,
helping them understand what the
and why it
possibilities
works.
are.
Because I think
how it works and
you guys know
why it
so
works.
much,
Because
and
I
you
think
know so much more than most of your
you guys
your,
know so much, and you know so
commercial
much more than
farming
most of your
clients.
your,
It's sometimes easy to
commercial
overlook the
farming
size of that gap
clients.
and the
It's
opportunities
sometimes easy
that
to
lie in
overlook
closing
the
that
size
gap,
of that gap and the
bringing up their level of
opportunities
knowledge
that
and
lie
for them
in
to see
closing
you
that gap,
as
bringing
the
up their
gurus
level
that
of knowledge and for them
you
to
are.
see you.
So that's
as the
all I really
gurus
wanted
that
to cover. It was a
you are.
so really that's all I
Picks
really
up
wanted to
very
cover
much
from
from
what
what
Colin was saying.
um,
It's about really thinking
very
is
much from what Colin
from
was
the
saying.
outside
It's
in,
about
thinking differently,
thinking
not accepting
is
what
from the
you
outside
have
in,
as
thinking
just,
differently, and
um,
not accepting
just being
what
the
you
norm
have as
because
just
it ain't.
the
breeding
being the norm
industry
because
is
it ain't
unique for those two
the breeding
particularly for those two
industry is
reasons that I've outlined.
unique for those
and
two.
There's a
particularly
whole
for
lot
those
that can
two
be
reasons
done
that I've outlined, and
to really
there's a
capitalise
whole
on
lot
that.
that can be done.
Identifying for
to
you
really
what that could
capitalise
mean
on
for your
that.
particular
Identifying
operation.
for you
What are the kind of things you
for
might change?
your
What are the things that
particular
you might
operation?
say? What are the
What are the
things
kind
you
of
might
things you might
communicate?
change? What are the
What are
things
the things that you
say?
might
What are the
do
things you might
to really
communicate?
accentuate those?
What are the things that you might do
that virtuous
to really
virtuous
accentuate
cycle?
those?
That virtuous. So that's a view from the outside from a struggling dairy farmer.
So that's a view
thank
from
you
the
for your
outside
time,
from
and
a
hopefully that was of
struggling dairy
interest.
farmer.
Thank you for your time, and I hope you